What do you do when you realize the person you built your entire life around has been planning to destroy you, quietly, legally, and with a smile? I heard the betrayal while carrying folding chairs for dinner. Her words shattered 10 years of trust in 10 seconds. But I didn't say a word. I smiled, served dinner, toasted her father, and 3 days later, when her WhatsApp exploded with 47 desperate messages, I knew the game had just begun. You'll want to stay until the end. Not just to see how I responded, but how I ruined them, piece by piece. It was a Tuesday, mid-autumn, one of those crisp evenings where the air smells faintly of burnt wood and fallen leaves. I had taken the day off to prepare a big dinner for my wife's family. Her parents were visiting from out of town, and she insisted we host them properly. I agreed. Why wouldn't I? I loved my wife. At least, I thought I did. I thought she loved me too. I'd been up since 6 a.m. marinating steaks, prepping sauces, setting up the patio heaters just in case it got chilly. Her mom liked things elegant but not too fussy, as she always said, so I was juggling between classy and casual. Wine glasses from the cabinet, matching cutlery, folding napkins the way she liked them. By 6:40 p.m., everyone had arrived. Her brother, a smug tech bro named Ryan, rolled in with a bottle of bourbon and his usual arrogance. Her father shook my hand like it was a business meeting and didn't make eye contact for longer than 2 seconds. Her mother smiled, that tight, practiced smile that never reached her eyes. And she, my wife, Anna, looked stunning in a black dress that hugged her hips like it had been sewn onto her body. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "Thank you for everything, babe." I smiled. God, I smiled like a fool. Midway through setting up the dining table, I realized we were short a few chairs. I slipped out through the kitchen to the garage where we stored the old metal folding ones. That's when I heard it. At first, I wasn't even listening. I was halfway through stacking the chairs when I caught Ryan's voice. Loud, snide, careless. "I still can't believe you married this loser. Dad's right. You need to divorce him before you have kids and get stuck forever." I froze. There was a pause. A part of me prayed for her to say, "Don't talk about my husband like that." Instead, I heard her laugh. Laugh. "Already working on it," she said casually. "My lawyer says we can take half his business too." Half. His. Business. My brain blanked out. I'd built that company from scratch. I took risks that kept me awake for years. Late nights, unpaid invoices, a decade of blood and sweat, and she was planning to rip it away like it was hers. I stood there for a full minute, holding chairs with cold hands, hearing nothing but the buzz of betrayal. And then, I smiled. I walked back into the house with the chairs as if nothing had happened, set them around the table, cracked a joke about overcooking the carrots, poured her father a drink. I kissed Anna's temple when I passed by. She smiled back, warm, loving, perfect. Dinner was a hit. Everyone laughed, clinked glasses, devoured the roast. And I played the loving husband flawlessly. But inside me, something broke. And something colder, much colder, took its place. I didn't sleep that night. Anna lay beside me, breathing slow and even, her back turned to me like always. I watched the ceiling, remembering every syllable from that garage conversation. "My lawyer says we can take half his business too." The way she said it, like it was already decided. Like I was too stupid to notice. I stared at her. I knew the curve of her shoulders, the way she mumbled in her sleep, the tiny scar on her knee she got falling off her bike at 12. I knew everything about her. Except this. I always thought betrayal would feel like an explosion. Rage, screaming, throwing things. But this felt quieter. Like drowning in warm water. Calm. Numb. I didn't even cry. I just started thinking. At 3:22 a.m., I got up, went to my office, and opened my safe. I had backups, contracts, sensitive data, passwords, copies of business filings. The kind of files I never imagined I'd need against her. I made 2 USBs. One for the lawyer I hadn't yet called. One for the storm I knew was coming. Then I checked her laptop. I'd never done that before. Never had a reason to. She'd been working late for weeks, supposedly helping a nonprofit with website design. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? The password was the name of her favorite wine, Malbec 14. I logged in. What I found made my pulse slow. Emails. Dozens of them. Subject: Client Divorce Strategy Update. Subject: Business Asset Exposure. Subject: Prenup Challenge Possibilities. She was careful. Smart. But she was working with someone, some slick family law shark named Daniel Ferraes. They were building a case. Lining up bank statements. Arguing emotional neglect, and disparity in lifestyle contribution. She was painting herself as the victim. I closed the laptop quietly, walked to the bathroom, washed my face. That's when I saw it. My reflection. And for the first time in years, I didn't recognize the man in the mirror. The next day, I said nothing. I brought her coffee in bed, just like I always did. She smiled, pulled me into a kiss. Her mouth tasted like toothpaste and betrayal. That evening, her mom called to thank us again for dinner. Anna gushed about how lucky she was to have a husband who goes all out. I stood in the doorway and watched her say it, the hypocrisy dripping off her like perfume. By Thursday, I had a private meeting with my lawyer, Tim, a sharp, steel-eyed man who looked like he hadn't smiled since the early 2000s. I laid everything out. The emails, the conversation, the business structure. He nodded slowly. She's trying to gut you clean. We need to freeze what we can, restructure ownership silently, and get ahead of this before she files. If she beats us to the court, it gets messy. He gave me a checklist. I spent the next 2 days executing it like a machine. By Saturday morning, the necessary trusts were in motion. My name came off assets. Licensing agreements quietly transferred. Half the company, on paper, no longer existed in the form she'd expected. I wore a smile through it all. Same as dinner. But inside, I was sharpening knives. And then Sunday came. I was at the gym when it happened. My phone buzzed. Then again. And again. 47 notifications in less than 10 minutes. All from Anna. Babe, call me. Where are you? Please answer. We need to talk. Urgent. I think there's been a mistake. Please. Did you do something with the business account? Call me. Please. Please. I stared at the screen. Then I smiled. A real one this time. She had just realized the floor was gone from under her feet. And I was only getting started. By the time I walked back into the house, Anna was pacing in the kitchen with her phone clutched in both hands. Her mascara was slightly smudged, and her voice trembled with a practiced panic. Oh, thank God, she said when she saw me. I've been trying to call you. Something weird is happening with the joint accounts. I think the bank messed something up. I played it cool. Really? What kind of mess? She blinked, thrown off by my tone. I wasn't angry or scared. I was calm. Too calm. She didn't know what to do with that. Well, I tried transferring money for the designer we're hiring for the nursery website, she said, and I caught it. That pause, that slight twitch at the corner of her mouth when she lied. And the transaction was declined. Strange, I said, grabbing a water from the fridge. Maybe it's flagged. Want me to call the bank? She hesitated. No, I'll take care of it. Of course she would. She didn't want them talking to me. She bit her lip, studying my face, probably wondering if I knew. Wondering if I'd read the emails. Heard the conversation in the garage. Wondering if I was playing her like she played me. And I was. Flawlessly. Over the next 2 days, the cracks widened. She became more affectionate, almost unnaturally so. She cooked dinner every night. She never cooked. She kissed me more. She laughed at everything I said like I was suddenly the funniest man alive. She even brought up baby names, just for fun. I played along, smiling, nodding, holding her hand across the couch while she scrolled through Pinterest boards full of homes and future lies. Meanwhile, I kept working with Tim. We moved faster. He found her lawyer's connections to a firm notorious for gold-digging divorce setups. She'd used an alias for the retainer to keep it off shared financial records, but I had found it on her laptop. We documented everything. Tim drafted our response. Not just a preemptive defense, a counterattack. Wednesday night, I found her in my home office. She didn't hear me at first. She was looking through my filing cabinet. When she turned around and saw me, her face turned pale, like a child caught stealing cookies. Oh, I was just looking for the printer ink. In the locked drawer? I asked, raising an eyebrow. She forced a laugh. I guess I panicked. Sorry. I walked over and gently took the folder out of her hands. This isn't printer ink, sweetheart. It was the copy of our prenup. The one she didn't realize I'd updated and re-signed, with her agreement, 2 years ago when the business valuation was lower. She thought the old version still applied. Oh, she said. Right. I forgot we updated it. Her voice cracked on the word forgot. I said nothing. She left the room like she was trying not to run. By Friday morning, the tension was suffocating. She barely spoke. I caught her crying in the shower, but I didn't ask why. And then that evening, she made her move. I want us to go to counseling, she said over dinner, poking at her salad. I feel like we've been drifting, and I don't want to lose you. I looked at her for a long moment. Not angry. Just done. Sure, I said, smiling. Let's set something up. Because I knew what she was doing. She wanted a record of trying to fix the marriage, so she could claim moral high ground in court when she dropped the bomb. But she didn't know. The bomb was already ticking, and she was standing right on top of it. I agreed to counseling. Of course I did. Anna looked relieved. But it wasn't relief born from love, it was strategy. She thought she was regaining control, buying time to finalize her legal ambush. Let her think that. Let her dig. The therapist she chose was exactly what I expected, a soft-voiced woman with a warm office full of throw pillows, abstract paintings, and boxes of tissues within arm's reach. Session 1. Anna put on the performance of a lifetime. I just feel so alone, she said, tears in her voice but not in her eyes. He's distant, cold, married to his business more than to me. She played her part like a seasoned actress, sad, patient, wounded. She even dropped hints about how she would have supported him even if he had nothing. A subtle plan to build the case of her sacrifice. And me? I nodded. I apologized. I said, I hear you. I even admitted I'd become distant. Not why, of course. The therapist told us we were doing a great job just by being open. Anna left that office glowing. By week 2, she was emboldened. She started hinting at starting fresh and a healthier future code for her future, without me, with my assets in her pocket. Meanwhile, I kept watching. I logged her calls, her searches. I knew she was consulting for Raise Daily. They were preparing to file. But the brilliance of it all was simple. I let her move first, because that's what arrogant people do when they think they've already won. Then it happened. One Thursday morning, I woke up to her humming in the kitchen, flipping pancakes like June Cleaver. Something was off. She never made breakfast unless she wanted something. By lunch, it arrived. An email from her lawyer to mine. Subject, filing notice, divorce petition enclosed. Attached was a polished, emotionally manipulative, thoroughly hostile petition, claiming I was emotionally abusive. She sacrificed her career for our marriage. She hadn't worked in 5 years. She deserved 50% of all shared assets, including my business. She even wanted the house. My house. Bought 3 years before we even met. And kids? She was suddenly desperate to start a family and said I refused. Never mind that she was on birth control the entire marriage without ever telling me. The petition ended with a chilling line. We look forward to resolving this amicably and respectfully. I laughed out loud. I waited 3 days before responding. 3 days of silence. 3 days of Anna pacing, glancing at her phone like it held a live grenade. 3 days where she tried to act normal but couldn't quite hold eye contact. Then, Monday morning, Tim sent our reply. Full forensic documentation of her intent to deceive. Screenshots of her secret emails. Recordings, yes, I'd set up a few, legally admissible in our state. A signed copy of our revised prenup. Her attempt to access my confidential files. And most importantly, a formal restructuring of my business that left her with nothing to claim. Tim's closing line? We are prepared to defend our client fully. Any further attempt to pursue unjust enrichment will be met with aggressive counter-litigation. That afternoon, the silence broke. I was in my workshop, polishing an old clock, when I heard the front door slam. What did you do? Anna screamed. I looked up. Calm. What do you mean? You tricked me, she yelled, tears streaming now, real ones, finally. You planned this. I set the clock down gently. You're damn right I did. And for the first time, she saw it. The real me. Not the fool in the apron hosting dinners. Not the pushover who smiled through betrayal. But the man she underestimated. She stood there in the doorway of my workshop, eyes red, hands trembling, mouth half open like she couldn't believe this was really happening. What do you mean you planned this? She asked, quieter now, her voice cracking like porcelain under pressure. I looked at her. Not with anger. Not with pity. Just detachment. You were never as subtle as you thought, I said. You think I didn't hear you and your brother in the garage? That I wouldn't notice the lawyer emails? That I'd hand over my company like some idiot too blind to see the blade behind my back? Her lips parted, then closed again, then parted. She had no script for this scene. You don't understand, she said finally. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I was just angry. I didn't know you. Wouldn't just roll over? I cut in. I stepped past her, gently brushing her shoulder. She didn't move. Her whole body had gone rigid. Don't worry, I added. I'm not going to humiliate you in public. You've already done a good job of that yourself. The rest of the week passed like a slow-motion landslide. She stopped sleeping in our room. I heard her crying a few nights, quietly, into a pillow, like maybe if the walls couldn't hear it, it didn't count. Her parents called. I knew she told them some version of the story. Likely not the real one. But even they were cautious. Her mother called and spoke to me politely, too politely, asking if everything was okay. Just a difficult moment, I told her. I didn't elaborate. Let her daughter explain that part. By Friday, her brother Ryan called too. This time, he wasn't smug. Hey man, listen, I think there's been a misunderstanding or something. I laughed. Oh yeah. I think Anna got some bad advice or whatever. She's a little emotional lately. You know how things get. Ryan, I said, my voice suddenly sharp. If I ever hear your voice again outside a courtroom, I'll sue you for slander, conspiracy, and everything in between. You're lucky I haven't already. Silence. Then a quiet, okay. He hung up. Anna tried one last time Saturday morning. She knocked on the door of my office, wearing one of the old sweaters I used to love on her back when I loved her. Can we talk? She asked. I nodded. She sat down, folded her hands. Looked at me like we were strangers on a train. I screwed up, she said, voice shaking. I know that. I got scared. The business, the late nights, the way you started pulling away. I thought I was losing you. So I acted stupid. Tried to take control. I thought if I left first, I wouldn't be the one left behind. There it was. Not an apology. An excuse. Still trying to stay the victim in her own narrative. I leaned forward. You didn't just try to leave. You tried to ruin me. You were willing to burn 10 years to the ground for a payout. She looked down. Silent. I was going to give you everything, I said. A family. A future. My trust. Hell, even half the company, if you just stayed. She opened her mouth, maybe to beg, maybe to explain. But I didn't let her. It's too late now. That night, I booked a short business trip out of town. A formality. I just needed space while the rest of the process unfolded. As I boarded the flight Sunday morning, I glanced at my phone one last time. 47 unread messages. From Anna. Please talk to me. We can fix this. I was stupid. I know. Don't do this to us. I'll walk away. I swear. Just don't ruin me. Please. I turned the phone off, sat back in my seat, and smiled as the plane lifted from the ground. The plane touched down in Seattle just after noon. I wasn't really here for business. Not anymore. This was strategy. Distance. Let the dust settle back home while the second phase played out. Tim handled everything. Served the countersuit. Filed the evidence. Protected every asset. And Anna? She was now flailing in quicksand. By Monday evening, the messages started leaking into the wider family. Her cousin texted me first. Dude, what the hell happened between you two? Anna said you blindsided her. Then her aunt. We love you both. Just hope it's not too late to fix it. And finally, her father. The same man who once called me not good enough. I think there's been a misunderstanding. If you'd like to talk, I'm open. A misunderstanding? That one made me laugh out loud in the hotel lobby. I didn't respond to any of them. By Wednesday, Anna could no longer control the narrative. The truth came out like a dam breaking. Her emails, her secret plans, the prenup violation, the attempted financial ambush. She had always been the perfect one in their family. Now she was just a scandal in a group chat. Her mother stopped replying to her. Her father reportedly told Ryan he was disgusted. She posted some vague quote on Instagram about betrayal disguised as strength. It got 13 likes. No comments. I returned home Thursday night. The house was silent. Her car was gone. Her closet half empty. A note on the kitchen table read, "Staying with a friend. I'll be out of your life soon. I hope someday you'll forgive me." I put the note in the trash without reading it twice. It wasn't forgiveness she was looking for, it was leverage. The final meeting came a week later, at the mediation office. Cold room. Pale carpet. 2 long tables separated by a few feet of legal air. She looked thinner. Hair pulled tight. Eyes hollow. Her lawyer, Ferraze, looked annoyed. Probably knew by now he was fighting a losing case. Tim laid it all out. All communication records. Proof of intent to defraud. Her violation of both prenuptial and ethical standards. And most importantly, the non-disclosure clause in the prenup, which she'd technically violated by talking to her brother and a lawyer before filing. They wanted a fight, but we brought a war. Tim leaned in at one point and said to Ferraze, quietly but clearly, "You're done." Settle now, or your client walks out of here owing damages. Anna didn't even look at me, just nodded slowly. They signed the agreement that day. She got nothing. Not the house. Not the company. Not a cent in alimony. The only thing she left with was her name, and I imagine, a very different version of herself than the one that entered this marriage. When I walked out of that office, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. 10 years. Gone in a puff of legal smoke and whispered betrayal. But I'd survived. And she'd never see it coming when I told the rest of the story. 3 weeks passed. Anna went dark on social media. Her family stopped mentioning her altogether. I found out from a mutual acquaintance, one of those people who pretends to stay neutral, that she'd moved into a one-bedroom apartment 2 cities over. Rumor had it she'd tried going back to freelance design work. But her reputation? Burned. Because I didn't just protect myself. I made sure the people who mattered knew the truth. No lies. No smear campaign. Just facts. I let her words speak for themselves. The voice recording from the garage? It found its way into the family group chat after one of her cousins asked what really happened. I didn't post it. I didn't need to. Someone else did the dirty work for me. And the fallout was swift. Turns out, people don't like betrayal. They especially don't like it when the person doing it had been bragging about how she could take half while smiling for Christmas photos. Anna's support system evaporated. Her mother blocked her. Her father reportedly told her, "I warned you about playing games." Her brother? He shut up real quick once I threatened legal action for his involvement. I got a message one night from a woman I didn't recognize at first. Someone Anna used to be friends with, Lauren, I think. "Hey, I just wanted to say, I never liked what she did to you. She always acted like she was better than you. But you were the real one. Just thought you should know." And they kept coming. Quiet messages of support from people who had once smiled at her side, now looking at her like a snake who shed its last skin. But here's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't just kill trust. It kills opportunity. Anna tried to start a personal branding campaign online. Life coaching, of all things. She launched an Instagram called at Reclaim Your Glow and posted mantras like, "You don't lose men. You lose demons. Divorce isn't the end. It's the upgrade." Except every time she posted, someone would comment, "Didn't you try to scam your husband out of his business?" After a few weeks, she shut it down. Her glow? Gone. Meanwhile, I kept building. My business? Thriving. The restructuring made it leaner, faster, more resilient. I focused on partnerships. Scaled smart. Hired people who cared. I stopped working late just to stay distracted. I was finally present in my own life. And women? They came back around too. One, in particular, Marissa, a quiet graphic designer from a client firm. Thoughtful. No games. She didn't remind me of Anna. She reminded me of peace. We got coffee. Then dinner. Then something that felt dangerously close to real. But I didn't rush it. Because I learned. You don't give your heart away to someone who hasn't proven they know what it means to hold it. Then, just as things began to feel steady again, she came back. Not physically. Not yet. But in my inbox. A short message. 5 lines. "I know I have no right. But I miss you. I dream about us. About who we used to be. I'd give anything to undo what I did. Just tell me if you ever think about me too. Even once." She ended it with a broken heart emoji. And for a long minute, I just stared at it. Then I started to type. I read her message twice. Then a third time. Not because I didn't understand it, but because I wanted to feel nothing while reading it. And I did. That was the beauty of it. She was asking for a crack. Just one. A tiny fissure she could crawl back through. All it would take was a single word from me. She was fishing for hope. But I'd already buried that version of me, the man who believed her tears, trusted her silence, gave her every inch without ever thinking she'd weaponize it. I cracked my knuckles, leaned back in my chair, and typed slowly. Not for revenge. Not for drama. Just for closure. I do think about us sometimes. But not the way you hope. I think about how I ignored every red flag because I loved you. I think about how I gave you a future, and you tried to trade it in for a payday. I think about the man I used to be before you tried to break him. And I thank God every day you failed. I paused, then added, "We're done, Anna. Not because of what you did, but because of who you are. Please don't write again." And I hit send. She didn't reply. Not that day. Not that week. Not ever. That message, it was the brick wall she didn't expect to crash into. You see, Anna was never afraid of being hated. She could survive anger, She could survive blame. What she couldn't survive was irrelevance. No fight. No begging. Just silence and distance. That's how you kill someone like her. Not with fire. With nothing. Life after her was lighter. Not perfect. Not some fairy tale ending. But real. Marissa and I kept things slow, honest, kind. She never once asked about my ex. Never pushed. Never tried to fill a role that wasn't hers. She just showed up. Again and again. Like love was supposed to. And one day, 6 months after Anna's final message, I opened my front door to find a small envelope on the ground. No name. No return address. Inside was a photograph. It was the picture Anna had taken on our 5th anniversary, me cooking at the cabin, shirt covered in flour, holding a bottle of wine with a stupid grin. On the back, in handwriting I knew too well. You were never the loser. I just didn't know how to be loved by someone real. No return address. No number. Just that. I didn't keep it. I walked to the fireplace, tossed it in, and watched it curl in the flames. You'd think after everything, after the betrayal, the scheming, the legal ambush, I'd regret ever meeting Anna. But I don't. Not even a little. Because loving her taught me everything I never would have learned from a peaceful life. It taught me how far I'd go to protect what mattered. It taught me the cost of ignoring my instincts. And most importantly, it taught me who the hell I really am. Before her, I was soft in the wrong ways. I mistook silence for strength. I thought patience would always win. But love without boundaries? That's not strength. That's surrender. I let her walk over line after line because I couldn't imagine someone I loved would ever cross them. She did, with heels on, and smiled while doing it. Still, I don't hate her. I know that sounds impossible. But the truth is, hate keeps you connected to the person who hurt you. And I didn't want that. Forgiveness wasn't a gift I gave her. It was one I gave myself. I forgave her not because she deserved it, but because I deserved to stop bleeding. I look back now and see the warning signs were always there. How she blamed every ex for everything. How she always needed control in the smallest things. How she never once apologized unless it cost her something. How every favor was a tally in her mental scoreboard. But I was blind with hope. Hope is dangerous like that. It paints red flags white when you want so badly to believe. Marissa and I eventually took a weekend trip to that same mountain cabin where Anna and I had once celebrated an anniversary. Different woman. Same firewood. But the peace was real this time. We hiked. Cooked together. Read in silence. She never once asked to take a photo. She was just there. Fully, completely, effortlessly. One night, she curled up next to me by the fireplace and said, "You don't talk much about your past, but I can tell you've walked through hell." I smiled. Yeah, but I made it out. And she didn't say anything else. She just rested her head on my shoulder. And it was the first time I realized I hadn't just survived. I'd won. People think betrayal breaks you. And it does, for a while. But if you're lucky, it also builds you. It burns down the illusions and leaves something solid in the ash. Something sharp. Something quiet. Something unshakable. I used to be the kind of man who believed love was enough to save anything. Now I believe this. Love is sacred, but only when it's earned. If she's reading this, Anna, I want her to know something simple. I'm not angry anymore. Not bitter. Not hollow. Not watching the door, waiting for your shadow to appear and drag me back to that suffocating version of who I used to be. I'm free. You didn't break me. You revealed me. You pulled back the curtain on who you truly were, and in doing that, you forced me to look at who I really was too. Not the man in love. Not the man who gave without limit. But the man who learned, finally, that love without respect is just a long, slow way to bleed out. So thank you. Not for the betrayal, but for the clarity. Because I did lose something when you lied to me, when you used me, when you smiled through dinners and plans and vacations while filing legal strategies behind my back. I lost the version of me who would have given you the world. And in losing him, I found the one who'd never let anyone do that again. If you're reading this, Anna, maybe you still think about me. Maybe not. Maybe you regret it. Maybe you still think you were right. Maybe, late at night, you wonder if the person you became was really worth the person you lost. That's your burden, not mine. I've moved on. There's peace in knowing you outgrew the cage someone tried to lock you in. There's peace in silence. There's peace in not replying. But most of all, there's peace in living a life that no longer needs to be explained to the person who tried to destroy it. I'm not telling this story for revenge, or sympathy, or drama. I'm telling it because someone, somewhere, is in that garage right now, hearing their version of, I'm already working on it. My lawyer says we can take half. And they're standing there holding folding chairs, heart cracked in two, wondering what the hell to do next. To that person, let me say this. Smile. Walk back inside. Serve dinner. Say nothing. Then quietly, patiently, methodically, burn it all down and build something better from the ashes. You'll be okay. I was. And I still am.